2, 1, go!
Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, it is KingNido here, and we are in the Orange Islands today, where the Belle and the Angels have travelled to challenge the Shamudi Keepers. As they try to keep their season alive, the Angels will start out with Hatterene and Primarina, the Keepers starting out with Corviknight and Hawlucha. Flying types are currently an Elite Four side. They are in 4th place. They want to stay there, as Hawlucha with the Magic Powder is going to make Hatterene solely a Psychic type Pokemon. It will lose that Fairy type, and it has its Corviknight with the Stone Edge. Going for Primarina, a great hit, critical hit in fact, to start off this matchup, as Primarina is going to respond with the Uproar. This won't be very effective on the Steel Flying type, however. With those heavy resistances, the Dream Eater will fail from Hatterene, as Hawlucha now going for the Hurricane onto Hatterene. Another good hit there by the Flying type team, as Corviknight with the Echoed Voice onto Primarina. Not as successful as it was last time, as Primarina continues with the Uproar, this time going for Hawlucha, and that is a great hit on the fighting Flying type, as Hatterene follows it up with the Wrap onto Corviknight. Going to do very minimal damage there, however. Corviknight will be wrapped by Hatterene and will continue to take damage from that, as it just did there, which is going to do a lot more damage than what it initially did. That Uproar is continuing as the Court Change fails from Hawlucha, but Corviknight follows it up with the Headbutt onto Hatterene. Hatterene's becoming an easy target here, as Primarina with another Uproar is going to take Hawlucha out of this matchup. That Uproar was a huge success there for Primarina, as Hatterene has flinched, and there is that Wrap continuing to do chip damage to Corviknight. Very powerful chip damage in fact, as Aerodactyl now comes out for the Shamudi Keepers, and with that Unnerve ability, the Angels will be too nervous to eat their berries, as Aerodactyl immediately with the Poison Powder onto Primarina, going to ensure it gets that chip damage, trying to get that elimination of the Water Fairy type, as Corviknight follows it up with the Cotton Spore onto both Fairy type Pokemon here. And this is going to lower the speed stats of both of them. Hatterene already being one of the slowest Pokemon, only 29 base speeders. Primarina with the Dragon Rush now onto Aerodactyl. Another good hit there by Primarina, as Hatterene follows it up with the Crunch. 2 good hits in a row there onto Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is already an easy target for the Fairy type side, as both Primarina and Corviknight are suffering the effects of both of their conditions at the moment, as Aerodactyl with the Twister won't affect the Fairy type Primarina. But remember, Hatterene is only Psychic type now, as a tearful look from Corviknight onto the Alolan Water Starter is going to lower its attack and special attack stat, as Primarina goes for the close combat here onto Corviknight, trying to capitalize on that Steel type, and this is going to lower the defense and special defense of Primarina, getting all of its stats lowered, as Hatterene does flinch, and there's that Poison taking effect yet again onto Primarina. It looks like it may only have 1 turn left in it, as Corviknight also still feeling the effects of that Wrap. If that Wrap continues, it'll probably only have 1 more turn, but a Focus Blast now from Aerodactyl onto Primarina is going to finish the job. Even though it's not very effective, Primarina is taken out of this matchup. Both sides have lost 1 Pokemon each, as Corviknight with the Grassy Terrain. This will not benefit the Shamudi Keepers whatsoever, because they're all up in the air. They will not get that regenerative effects of the Grassy Terrain, as Hatterene now with the Confuse Ray onto Corviknight, hoping that if this Wrap doesn't take it out, that Corviknight will be able to take itself out of this matchup, as that Grassy Terrain is going to restore a little bit of the health that Hatterene has left. But here is that Wrap. This could finish Corviknight off and put the Angels right back in front, and that it does. The Angels are trying to desperately keep their season alive, as they've lost their last 3 games. We have Noivern coming out for the Keepers and Gardevoir coming out for the Angels. Aerodactyl immediately with the Force Palm onto Gardevoir, not very effective, however. It is going to leave Gardevoir paralyzed, but it has that Synchronize ability, so Aerodactyl's also going to feel the effects of the paralysis, as Noivern is going to set up for a Solar Beam. It is going to begin to absorb that light. The Stomping Tantrum won't affect Aerodactyl, as Hatterene with the Absorb onto Aerodactyl, capitalizing on that Rock type, and it has also with that Grassy Terrain on the field. Fitting time, as both Gardevoir and Hatterene are going to get their health restored. Hatterene also getting its health restored from that Absorb. Hatterene getting better and better, and with that Healer ability, Gardevoir is cured of its paralysis as that Solar Beam comes from Noivern. Gardevoir is going to take the damage there, tanks the hit, not bad there, as Gardevoir with the Fury attack in response to Noivern, this multi-hit move. But how fitting that Aerodactyl is now the one left paralyzed after having paralyzed Gardevoir earlier in this matchup. And Gardevoir gets the 5 hits on Noivern, as well as Aerodactyl is going to set up for a Meteor Beam. It is going to boost its special attack in this turn. It is more of a physical attacker, but still see what it can do in the next turn, as the Infestation is going to prevent it surely from taking effect, as it is still in this matchup, but it is going to feel the effects of that Infestation shortly after this Grassy Terrain takes effect. And here it is, the Infestation takes Aerodactyl out of this match before it's able to finish off its Meteor Beam. The Battle of the Angels off to a great start as Scyther comes out. Hatterene avoids the Power Whip, and Scyther now going for the Teeter Dance is going to leave everyone on the field confused except for itself. Unfortunately, it does confuse its own teammate Noivern in this matchup. But as I said, the Battle of the Angels off to a great start. They've taken out half the Shimudi Keepers here. As Gardevoir tries to shake off its confusion, it is successful, going for the Fury Cutter here onto Noivern, doing very little, not very effective damage. Hatterene's turn though to try and shake off its own confusion, and it will be successful, going for the Poison Powder onto Scyther. Now Scyther is going to be feeling the effects of this poisoning in between each turn here. The Battle of the Angels have that 5 and 7 record. They're actually sitting in 14th place at the moment. If they can win here today, they are going to still keep their season alive, as Scyther is going to take the damage from the poisoning after that Grassy Terrain heals a little bit of the Angels yet again, as Noivern with the Spite here. This should reduce Hatterene's PP by round 4, and that it does, as Scyther with the Toxic onto Hatterene. It will leave a badly poisoned, clearly in response to Hatterene poisoning Scyther in the previous turn. As Gardevoir snapped out of its confusion, it's going to go for the X-Scissor, another bug type move onto Noivern, so it won't be very effective yet again. And Hatterene needs to shake off its confusion, but it is unsuccessful, doing damage to itself. Gardevoir's going to get a little bit of health restoration here, as will Hatterene, but that poisoning could negate that health being restored, as Scyther also still suffering the effects of its own poisoning here. Here is Hatterene feeling the effects, feeling that chip damage, as the grass finally disappears from the battlefield, so Hatterene won't be able to combat its own poisoning. As Noivern snaps out of its confusion, going for the Mach Punch, not very effective there. Scyther follows it up with the Quick Attack onto Hatterene, a great hit. Gardevoir with the Brutal Swing is going to finish off its own teammate, taking it away from the suffering of that poisoning that it had. Scyther still feeling its effects, but it is now a 3 versus 4 battle as Togekiss comes out for the Battle of the Angels, and Noivern with the Facade onto Gardevoir gets a good hit in there, and as the Inferno is avoided by Gardevoir from Scyther, Gardevoir with the Crunch now onto Noivern gets a good hit on the Dragon Flying type, and Togekiss follows it up with the Crush Grip onto Scyther, yet another good hit, and there is that poisoning. Scyther only has a couple of turns left in it. Surely it needs to get some strength back, as the Guillotine is avoided by Gardevoir, and Scyther now with the Rock Throw onto Togekiss. It is capitalizing on its flying type there, as the Bullet Seed onto Noivern is a multi-hit move. It's going to do very minimal damage, only connecting twice as well. Not very effective as Gardevoir though with the Headbutt could finish Noivern off, and that it does. Noivern is eliminated. The Battle of the Angels are really holding their own here today. There's the poisoning onto Scyther. Scyther's surely got one turn left in it, as Gyarados is the last Pokemon for the Shimudi Keepers. Scyther with the Disarming Voice will hit both Fairy types. Not much damage being done there, as Gyarados with the Fairy Lock, making it so no one can escape in the following turn. And that Topsy-Turvy is going to fail from Togekiss, as Gardevoir with the Morning Sun, it is going to restore some health. It knows it has a task ahead of it with Gyarados being on the field here. But that poisoning that Scyther has is finally going to finish it off. Scyther is eliminated. Gyarados has 4 Fairy-type Pokemon to contend with. It has that Moxie ability. As it goes for the Shell Smash, it's going to lower its defenses, boosting both its attack stats and its speed. It will want to capitalize on that heavily, again, with that Moxie as well. If it can maximize that attack stat and start taking out these Fairy types, as a Disarming Voice now from Gardevoir, doing good damage to the lowered defenses of Gyarados, and the Shadow Sneak by Togekiss. They are straight on the offensive onto the Water Flying type with that critical hit as well. Gyarados with the Skill Swap. It is going to give its Moxie to Togekiss and take the Serene Grace, see if it can capitalize on that and get its own critical hits in this matchup. But Gardevoir now with the Smog onto Gyarados, yet another good hit, and it leaves Gyarados poisoned. It is on a ticking clock. It needs to eliminate everyone in the next few turns. It probably has about 1 left in it. It's surely going to be out of this, but goes for the slack off. This is a great play here by Gyarados. It's going to restore its health, keeping itself in this matchup for longer. It needs to get back on the offensive now. Togekiss with the parting shot. It is going to go back to the bench, but before it does, it is going to lower the attack and special attack of Gyarados here, trying to help out its teammates, keep them in it for longer. As El Creamy now comes out for the Angels, the tail slap is avoided by Gyarados, but that poisoning as we get a time warning. This could be good for Gyarados if we can go into overtime for the flying types. It goes for the Swagger. It is going to leave El Creamy confused, but it's going to boost its attack a great deal as well. The keepers want to go into overtime. They want to make it a singles battle. It'll make it easier for Gyarados to contend with all 4 Pokemon one at a time. Gardevoir changes to a rock type with the conversion there, and El Creamy in its confusion is able to shake it off. Goes for the air cutter onto Gyarados. A great hit there onto Gyarados, and there's that poisoning. Yet again, Gyarados needs to restore its health again, but instead goes for the extreme speed onto El Creamy. It's a great hit, but it's not enough. Gardevoir with the Octo Lock won't do any damage. It would lower its defenses between turns as it can no longer escape, but Gyarados is just waiting. Get out here. That Mud Shot won't affect Gyarados, but the poisoning will finish it off. The Shamudi keepers have lost the battle, and the Angels have ended their losing streak in fantastic fashion with the victory over the flying types. And they're going to want to look to continue that next round when they take on the Sirchester Frost. As the Angels move themselves up to 13th, the Shamudi keepers staying in 4th next round will be taken on the Doofy Combats, who have had a terrible season so far and could potentially be ended this round. But our very next matchup will be the Pewter Stones, trying to reclaim their spot in the Elite Four, taking on the Sirchester Frost, desperately trying to keep their season alive. But until then, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you thought was the best on field, and if you enjoyed what you saw here today, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I'll see you when you see me.